The interesting thing about Judaism is that it's always been a combination of an ethnic identity, of a people, and a religion. And for almost all of the 3,000 years plus of Jewish history, nearly 4,000 years, it's been a combination. Because if you go all the way back to the beginning to Abraham, as mentioned in Genesis, it's the promise from God is to Abraham and to his descendants, therefore to a people with a special place called the land of Israel, the promised land, and with a special faith, a special religion. So the Jewish people have always thought of themselves as a people with a faith and with a special connection, no matter where you live, to the land of Israel, which is called the Jewish homeland at the same time. It's not a proselytizing religion, meaning it doesn't go out and actively seek converts. At a certain time in its history, it did. And I think that's simply because the Jews have always been a small people. If you know anything about Jewish history, there's a lot of persecution and sadness. And so any person who voluntarily decides to become Jewish, it's a lot to ask. They're becoming part of a religious minority anywhere except perhaps in the state of Israel. For the first 1,000 years of Jewish history, it went through the father. Why it shifted to the mother is in part to discourage men from marrying outside of the faith. Because stop and think about it. If you're saying that if a Jewish man goes out and finds a non-Jewish wife, that the children won't be Jewish because it goes through the mother, that would discourage men from doing that. When the Romans came in and destroyed the temple and dispersed the population, the Jews were forced to live almost exclusively in what's called the diaspora, outside of Israel. So much of Judaism was based on the temple in Jerusalem. You had to have a different type of Judaism. You had to have what's called a portable Judaism, a Judaism you could take with you in any country. So that's what Judaism became, and it became synagogue-based. Once you leave your homeland and you disperse, you become a minority. And because Jews were a very small minority with different faith and refused to join the majority, there was resentment, which grew over time. And very often Jews were scapegoated for the problems that the majority might have. So it led to a lot of the persecutions. About 1948, modern Israel was established, but note the date, 1948. That comes right after the end of the Holocaust. And I think that this gave urgency to the need to do this. This helped convince countries throughout the United Nations to support the establishment of Israel. But the Holocaust not only sped up the political process, it really showed that Israel was the one place that any Jewish person escaping persecution anywhere in Europe, the Soviet Union, where have it, could come to live freely and safely. The similarities and what we have in common outweighs the differences. The biggest point of difference is what you believe about the Torah, about the Bible. Because if you believe that the Bible, the Torah, is word for word from God, then you have to accept everything that is said there. You can't pick and choose. You can't say, okay, well, this part is still relevant, this part is not relevant. If you believe that it's written by God, but, inspired by God, but ultimately written down by human beings, then you will take it very seriously and you will interpret it more, but still you will will see it as not just an ordinary law book, or not just another piece of great literature, but something that comes to us from God. If you see it as a wonderful book of history and literature and customs, but written by human beings, and not by God, then it's still valuable. It's still your kind of constitution in a way, but it can be changed. It can be amended.